I mentioned at the end of the last vid that it's quite possible that what the Gospels depict for the Jewish trial of Jesus doesn't actually depict a verdict. This will require some explanation, so we'll be skipping questions from the peanut gallery this time. There are at least 5 views about the trial of Jesus that I've uncovered. Each has a degree of plausibility, but given limited time, I'll just cover 3. One is the idea that the trial was either legal or in some part illegal, and Jesus was convicted. That's the traditional view, and the one I've defended so far as plausible. The third option isn't one I agree with, but I'll discuss it so that viewers can learn more about it. That's the option that the trial was legal because Jesus was being tried as a seducer under special rules. A final option I'll discuss is what I mentioned last time, basically that there was no formal trial or verdict. What is being described by the Gospels is an interrogation and an indictment, or perhaps a show trial for shaming purposes. The actual trial came before Pilate. The seducer option was suggested by a biblical scholar named Rudolf Pesch in this book, The Trial of Jesus Continues. As I noted, many objections to the trial narrative say the trial was illegal under Jewish rules that were probably not even in effect before 70 AD. Pesch, however, runs with the idea that those rules were in effect, and that the alleged violations were actually in line with those rules. Pesch's chief proof text is this one, Deuteronomy 13:1-5. In his view, Jesus was being tried before the Sanhedrin as a seducer of the people, a false prophet trying to get people to follow other gods. Pesch finds the crime to have been committed when Jesus did his symbolic demonstration in the temple, so that he would have been understood as preaching rebellion against God's established order. In such cases, Pesch argues, the Sanhedrin had special regulations because the crime was considered so explosive. In fact, contrary to the law which said that trials could not be held at night, the seducer's trial was allowed to be initiated during the night and concluded the same day. Even more interestingly, the law about seducers suggested that seducers ought to be executed on a feast day like Passover in order to frighten the people, and that the Sanhedrin was allowed to set traps to catch the seducer, and that puts new light on the whole arrangement with Judas. So could Pesch be correct about the trial of Jesus? I think he has a fair chance of being correct, and if you like his theory, feel free to run with it. But there's another view I think is even stronger, perhaps even stronger than the traditional one. It's a common assumption that Jesus underwent an official trial by the Sanhedrin. That may have happened, but it also may be a false impression given by an over-literal reading of the Gospels. Under this view, what was the nature of the Jewish trial? John and Luke would preserve the most literally accurate picture, interrogation before Annas and then Caiaphas, with other Sanhedrin officials nearby, but not the entire body of the Sanhedrin. Then what we'd have is not a trial, but either a police investigation designed to reveal the charge under which the suspect would be brought before the Roman court, or else a show trial, which was a way of processing a deviant in an authoritarian society. The impression of a trial before the entire Sanhedrin is given by an over-literal reading of Mark 14:55, which says that the whole Sanhedrin was looking for evidence against Jesus. This should no more be taken to mean the entire Sanhedrin was there than saying that someone who testified before Congress had the exclusive attention of all 535 members. If the chiefs of the Sanhedrin were there, or even a quorum, meaning 23 members out of 71, that meant that the vested power of the whole body was there. We may note in support of this no trial view, Acts 13:27-28, where Paul observes that the rulers had not found proper cause to find Jesus guilty, nor had they passed sentence. They had asked Pilate to perform the execution, although they did supply the basis for condemnation. Under this view, the statement that Jesus was worthy of death becomes merely an observation or opinion, not a verdict or formal condemnation. So there's a couple more options for the historicity of the trial narrative. As usual, you'll find more details at a link in the vid description. Until next time for this series, see ya!